Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics on this New Year's Day. I'm Kayode Okikulu. But first, the major stories we're tracking for you. President Tinubu promises Nigerians economic growth in his New Year's statement as he acknowledges that security remains a threat, particularly in northeast and northwest Nigeria. And New Year's Eve attacks by suspected bandits in Plateau, Kebbi and Ondo states leave at least 9 dead, raising fresh concerns about insecurity. We begin with President Bola Tinubu's New Year message to Nigerians, where he declared 2026 as a beginning of a more robust phase of economic growth for Nigeria, citing significant gains made in 2025 and outlining ambitious plans for national development. In his New Year's address to the nation, the president expressed optimism about the country's economic trajectory, highlighting a projected GDP growth and a steady decline in inflation. He emphasized the importance of consolidating these gains in 2026 through continued implementation of policies aimed at building a resilient, inclusive, and sustainable economy. On fiscal matters, President Tinubu reiterated his administration's commitments to discipline and tax reform. He praised states aligning with the national tax harmonization agenda and stressed that the 2026 appropriation bill will further entrench reforms to create a fair and competitive fiscal environment. These efforts, he noted, are essential to expanded infrastructure and social investments that will drive shared prosperity. Security remained a central theme in the president's address, as he acknowledged ongoing threats from terrorists and criminal elements, particularly in the northwest and northeast regions. He also commended the armed forces for their sustained operations. President Tinubu reaffirmed his belief in decentralized policing and the role of regulated forest guards in tackling insecurity, pledging deeper cooperation with international and regional partners in 2026. The president urged all citizens to embrace unity, patriotism, and shared responsibility in building a stronger Nigeria, as he asked that Nigerians resolve to be better citizens, better neighbors, and better stewards of our nation. He then wished Nigerians a peaceful and prosperous New Year. Well, speaking of the new year, the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has vowed to engage governments at all levels in a dialogue to begin the upward review of workers' salaries early enough in 2026, owing to the rising cost of living. A promise to pursue a new wage regime is prominent in the New Year message of the NLC, signed by its president, Mr. Joe Ajero, and circulated to journalists. According to the statement, the labor movement will work with and support only those governments and political actors who demonstrate clear pro-people plans and actionable commitments to uplifting the masses from poverty and oppression. While urging Nigerian workers to be patriotic, the NLC says it will reject outrightly politicians whose stock in trade are empty promises and policies that decimate living standards of people for the benefit of a parasitic few. And now to security. At least 7 persons have been confirmed dead following a deadly attack on Bom community in Chugwi, just south local government area of Plateau State, barely minutes into the new year. The Biram Youth's Molder Association BYM said the attack, allegedly carried out by suspected armed bandits, occurred at about 11 p.m. on Wednesday, December the 31st, 2025, as residents were preparing to usher in the new year. Confirming the incident, the National Publicity Secretary of the Biram Youth's Molder Association BYM, Rewang Tengwong, said the community was thrown into mourning at a time when others across the state were celebrating. According to the association, the attack occurred despite earlier security alerts warning that several communities in just South local government area had been marked for possible attacks. Suspected terrorists have killed at least 2 people in Tungwa Giwa village of Shanga local government area in Kebbi State. The attack, which also occurred New Year's Eve, forced many locals to flee from their homes. Well, this comes after a series of deadly attacks in other communities within the same local government area, starting on Tuesday, December the 30th. Community sources say 5 persons were killed in Kiowa village on Tuesday, where the attackers also set ablaze the house of a village head. The terrorists then moved to Gebe town on the same day, killing 1 person, before launching another attack on Gurwo town on Wednesday morning, where 1 resident was reportedly killed. A resident who spoke on the condition of anonymity said the continuous attacks had spread fear and panic across the entire area, forcing people from neighboring villages to abandon their homes, farmlands, livestock, and personal belongings. So far, there's been no official statement from the police concerning the incident. Well, let's get some more insight into these attacks, particularly on New Year's Day, in the light of the government's effort to curb insecurity. We're joined on the program by Mr. Dixon Osagie, who's the MD to Breeze Protection Service, also a security consultant. Mr. Osagie, good morning, and well, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Kayode.
Well, for the people in Kebbi State, the community in Kebbi State, Shanga local government area, and Plateau State as well, it definitely wouldn't be a happy new year in the light of these attacks we've seen on New Year's Eve in Plateau State. At least 7 persons confirmed killed in that attack in Jos South local government area of Plateau State, and in Kebbi as well. Now, these attacks started on Tuesday, continued on Wednesday. So, Mr. Osagie, we've talked a lot about insecurity in 2025. And every time we talk about it, the government says, well, we're working out something. We're engaging both kinetic and non-kinetic. So, at a time where it looked like we were turning the corner, these attacks happened. So, for you, is this a one-off, or is just a continued attack in the trail that we've seen in 2025?
Thank you, Kayode. First of all, let me wish this community a happy new year. And we will not want the terrorists to take victory. They are not the champions. The community is the champions. They are the champions. The community, they are the champions. And that's why I wish them happy new year. And they must not allow this one-off incidents to demoralize them for 2026, and also believe in the government of today, because Kayode, 2025 came with a lot of, ups and downs, security attacks here and there. And 2026, we should be looking at a new security strategy. And that is why in every given country, your national security strategy needs to be reviewed yearly. If you have a national security strategy, the lifespan of every national security strategy should not exceed 3 years, which should be reviewed every single year. So all the incidents that happened throughout last year, what I'm expecting the government to do this year is to go for a, national security strategy review, see what went wrong last year, what they did wrong, and see what went right, what they did right, and also harmonize all the incident and ensure they carry out some other proactive measures and also reactive measures that will mitigate the loss of life. Now, for the Shanga local government and the people of Plateau State, I want them to understand that this incident is just like a one-off, because these terrorists, what they're doing right now, they are, breathing their last breath, and they just want to, behead. And also, I will advise this 2026, why the government looks in other strategies to go for these guys. I think I will advise the media to also see how to de-oxygenate these guys, because the oxygen they breathe is publicity. Every terrorist breathes in publicity, because that is their only surviving grace, because they want to be heard so that they'll be able to use their opportunity to get more fighters and glorify their evil deed. But for me, 2025 ended in a very good very good note, attacking wise, because the Nigerian Air Force in December carried out a lot of fantastic bombardment within this territory, because I received a lot of intelligence, live intelligence about this view. And I will also advise the Nigerian government, Kayode, to see how they can, demoralize these guys. 2026, every single attack must be publicized. Every single success from the army must be publicized, and the army should take the glory. Every single attack from the Air Force and Navy must be publicized. If you publicize this attack methodology and this, gains from our military and, effective bombardment, it's going to send a form of psychological deterrence to would-be terrorists and also to the terrorist camp. So for me, I sympathize with the people of Shanga and let them trust in the government. 2026, It's going to be a great year, Kayode. I trust you. The Nigerian military will have to sit up and wipe off the bad eggs. Kayode, I think there are many bad eggs in the Nigerian military. This is not a lie, because I see the reason why for 16 years we are unable to cut off this thing. The Nigerian military, what they should do this 2026 is to look within, the enemy within, and that is what we should be looking at 2026, enemy within. If they can wipe out the enemy within, the DSS wipe out the enemy within, the police wipe out the enemy within, they will be able to, eliminate this internal, quote unquote, internal threat with deadly Nigeria.
So a couple of things to pull together here. So we saw the attack in Kebbi State, which is northwest. The attack in Plateau as well, north central. And in fact, the attack in Ondo State, also yesterday, which is in southwest Nigeria, the attack in Owo local council area, so by suspected bandits on Wednesday night, and there was an attack on divisional police station in that agrarian community. So we see how sort of all over the place these attacks are. But in the president's New Year's message, he only majorly referenced the Northeast and the northwest part of the country, saying that, security remains a major threat in those areas. But as I said, we've seen in north central, and we've also seen in southwest. So while we understand that these areas are flashpoints, but we've consistently seen in other parts. So what do you think is a rationale for the president sort of restricting those attacks or insecurity to northeast and northwest alone?
Well, I think it's not intentional, because you and I know and believe that whenever you hear about insecurity in Nigeria, the first thing that comes to your mind says the northeast and northwest, and as well north central, because this territory for over 16 years has been bedeviled with terrorism, insurgency, and banditry. While in the southwest, we're being taken by kidnappings and other, criminal activities. But in general, Nigerian 6th geopolitical zone is suffering from multi-dimensional security threats. So I think that's, exemption could be a mistake from the president. He's the #1 citizen of the country, and he gets security brief every morning, and he knows what happened every day in the 6th geopolitical zone of Nigeria. But what we should start looking at in 2026 is to ensure that from all nooks and crannies, any single incident that takes place either in the north, in the east, in the south, Nigeria is affected. When I got a call from China this morning and telling me about this program, I said, oh my God, is it a bad thing to even be a Nigerian? Because I'm not in the country. I came for holiday with my family, and I'm waking up with a bad news. But for me, I see it that Nigeria will bounce back again. Those criminal elements and the sponsors of those criminal elements that are putting Nigeria in this state of shame, the Nigerian government, if truly they are ready from political perspective to wipe out this criminal element, they should start from the government. I think that's where the problem is, because I see no reason why we have an existing government when Nigeria is not yet a failed state, an existing government being unable to wipe out this criminal element. I'm not here to tell you that we can eliminate crime. Crime can never be eliminated in any part of the world, no matter how powerful that country is. The most powerful country in the world cannot eliminate crime. But what crime prevention strategy talks about is for you to mitigate such crime to as low as reasonably acceptable in a given society, whereby you don't have criminal activities or crime activities taking place every day. Like in Nigeria, before I travel for holiday, every day, bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news, and it's beginning to affect our mental state. And as I speak to you now, Kayode, whenever I see any incident that happens in northeast, northwest, or any part of the country, it just looks to me as normal, but it's not normal. But we are getting used to it, and we've all got used to it. So for me, I think the government should start looking at crime and punishment. 2026 should be a year for punishment. Punishment, Kayode, is a very beautiful business. Anyone who commits crime must pay for that crime. I was very impressed when the Supreme Court some few weeks ago turned down the presidential pardon of a lady who killed her husband. What that simply implies is that you cannot go scot-free when you commit crime against human being, against human life. Anything that has to do with human life, no person has the power or capability to forgive. Once you eliminate someone's life or you take someone's life, the supreme price you pay is you pay with your own life. You don't have to pardon anybody in that aspect. So let's look at punishment, Kayode, very, very strategic points from the government. Let them look at punishment mechanism from the political perspective. And our politicians must lead by example. In the 2023 election, we see a lot of politicians, making use of talks. Now, I want to address this issue. If you make use of talks in any given political activities or campaign period, what you are doing is that you are certifying crime. You are telling the people that it's okay to commit crime. You are telling them that it's okay to disrupt the ballot boxes. You are telling them it's okay to carry out criminal activities. And that is why people from other parts of the country start carrying out other parts in other countries start carrying out transnational crime, crossing our borders to come and commit crime simply because they know that our politicians themselves aid and abet crime. So the government must start dealing with political elites who aids and abet crime. Then, if you hit them from the top, you'll be able to get it right from the bottom. It has to be from the top down and from down top, so that we'll be able to deal with any single person in Nigeria, no matter how highly placed you are. If you commit a crime, you must pay for that crime. That's the effectiveness of crime and punishment. When there is punishment, crime reduces, but if there's no punishment, crime increases. So that's my perspective on the area of crime and punishment this morning.
Absolutely. And just looking at the president's New Year message once more, yes, security had a whole section in it, security and national stability. And yet again, the president said that he believes that a decentralized policing system with appropriate safeguards, complemented by properly regulated forest guards, all anchored on accountability, critical to effectively addressing terrorism, banditry, and related security challenges. So we're back at this decentralized policing system. The previous administration of now late President Muhammadu Buhari was sort of averse to call it state police, right? The president didn't use the term state police here. He said decentralized security. But it means that really where governors are able to have authority over the security in their state. But the big question has always been, one, what is holding us back? Because the governors also say they want state police. The president is saying he wants state police. So who exactly is holding us back from having this state police? In any case, a majority of the governors are now APC state. So maybe from your perspective, do you see anything holding them back? Because it looks like, are they asking Nigerians to implement it now? Because they're the ones in power.
Fantastic question. I think they're holding themselves back, Kayode. That is where you see a government that is serious and also a government that is not serious. Any serious government will not even take much time in taking decision when it has to do with security issues and security threats, bedeviling its people. The president has used the terminology decentralized policing system simply because he doesn't want the state government to start looking or taking ownership of the Nigerian policing system. Because when you decentralize the policing system, what that simply implies that every state will have power of autonomy to carry out security and policing duties with speed and momentum without waiting from Abuja, without waiting from any order in Abuja, and also ensure that any crime in progress must be curtailed with speed and momentum in the area of responsive and reactionary methodology. So for me, decentralizing our policing system, Kayode, is a good one. It's long overdue. Most of these are people who travel abroad. They see what happens in the United States, for example. They're practicing a decentralized policing system, and it's working for them. We got our constitution from the USA, and why can't we also apply and adopt their own security methodology to ensure that we mitigate crime and ensure that we bring Nigeria to a state of positive peace? So for me, decentralizing our policing system is the way to go, and that discussion should come to an end this January, and also the National Assembly should start looking at passing the bill to ensure that every state, take responsibility for their security duties. Because when it comes to election period, what happened is that most of these governors and politicians, they capitalize on the state of security to seek for power. And whenever they get into office, the next thing you start seeing, they begin to centralize their problem to Abuja. If anything happens in their state, they run to Abuja. Why are they running to Abuja? They claim they cannot give the military orders. They claim they cannot give the police orders. And also they claim they cannot give other security agency powers. I agree. So if we decentralize our policing system, what then happens is that a state governor can call the commissioner of police and say, hey, there's a crime in progress, respond in the next 45 minutes. And that is why when we look at decentralizing our policing system and we don't put in security response measures, designs in place, that decentralization of the Nigerian policing system, that decentralizing of the Nigerian police system is not going to work out. For us to decentralize it, we must make sure ensure that every responsive measures, every security measures are put in place to ensure that anytime there's a crime in progress or there's an attack somewhere or there's an occasion of crime, a commission of crime, the Nigerian police should be able to respond there. Be it state policing system or community policing system, they should be able to respond. The whole essence, Kayode, is for you to mitigate the loss of life. That is the whole essence of decentralizing the policing system. It's a form of, physiological, psychological, operations. So for me, I wish the Nigerian government well and ensure that this 2026, Kayode, they must start looking at, engaging these security issues. They should take it, as a top priority, which I strongly believe they should do, and ensure they bring people to book that commit crime against the Nigerian state.
So as we begin to, coast home on this conversation, it's New Year's Day, but hey, here we are discussing insecurity for the attacks in Plateau State. 7 people killed yesterday. The one in Kebbi State, and as I said, the Kebbi State attack didn't just happen yesterday. It started on Tuesday, so in total, 7 people were killed over the 2 days of attacks, at least 7 people. Also for the attack in Ondo State, Owo, where we're not even sure of the casualty figures because everybody had to flee into bushes and all of that. What do you expect the security agencies to do? Because this must be a year of punishment, right? Largely, we've seen these attacks happen, and sometimes we get arrested, some other times we don't get arrested, particularly for the one in Ondo State. Because Amotekun, if you recall, just announced the arrest of suspected criminals in some of these forests, and just a day or two after, we see this attack. So what kind of punishment, what kind of move must we see from security agencies in the aftermath of these attacks across border?
Fantastic question. Kayode, I operate an international platform, a WhatsApp platform, where we have people from all over the country and some other parts of African country. It's an intelligence-driven platform, and that's why I want to tell you that the government has the ability to curtail crime in progress. Now, on this platform, if there's a crime or any criminal activities taking place in any part of the country, we tend to publish it on the platform. And we have some government security forces on that platform who sometimes, I believe, they, fetch that information and they respond. So what I'm trying to say is that the Nigerian government should start looking at building an effective response mechanism measures in place, whereby if there's a crime in progress, when I say crime in progress, when these criminal guys are in action, whenever there's a crime in action or in progress, this government should be able to fetch the signal immediately, and respond, because the whole essence of response measures is, demoralizing this criminal element. Criminals, one, they don't like delay, and 2, they don't like being, accosted in their crime in progress, and 3, they don't like wastage or waste of time. So what we should start looking at is that we should start looking at, creating, concentric cycle in protecting our national infrastructure and also protecting our people. And every community should have a form of community security design, whereby you have crime prevention through community design or through, environmental design, whereby, like, let me give you an example. If you go to Banana Island or if you go to Dolphin Estate, or most of these estates, the security measures we have in such area is what we call crime prevention through environmental design. So every locality must have an environmental design security measures environmentally that can protect them from this criminal attack and also prevent them from from being killed by these criminals. And delay measures, we should start looking at delay measures. Allow these criminals to labor in vain. That is the whole essence of crime prevention. Do not allow them to labor and get away with their criminal activities. Laboring in vain is that they cannot just get into their target very, very swiftly. Then in the area of government response measures this very year, they should start going after the criminal sponsorship and they're also under financier. That's what we call this their center of gravity. Because we will have all these years nowadays that we keep on killing the fighters, killing the fighters. We are not achieving anything. Each time you kill terrorists, you've not succeeded in your counter-terrorism methodology. So let's go after their center of gravity, their strategic center of gravity, from their command structure, intelligence structure, their logistics, and also their employment methodology, so that we'll be able to cut them off from all their criminal activities. 2026 is here. I wish Nigeria well, and I wish our leaders well, and they must lead us right so that people will see that truly they are serious. So that you and I cannot be here every time talking about Nigeria negatively. Let's talk good things about Nigeria in nearest time, and not this sad news bedeviling us every year. Happy New Year, Nigeria, and 2026 is going to be a better year if only our military, lead this war against counterterrorism, and also the Nigerian political elite should ensure that they say, hey, enough is enough. Nigerians should start breathing again.
I'm glad we're ending on that note, Mr. Osaji. Amidst all of the stories of killings, there is some hope that we can do better. We must indeed do better. We've been speaking with Mr. Dixon Osaji, MD, Breeze Protection Services Security Consultant. Thank you for your time. And once again, Happy New Year to you and your family.
Happy New Year, Kayode, and entire crew of the Channels Television. Thank you. God bless you.
And just before we go, let's tell you that the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, says investigations into the cause of the road crash which claimed the lives of two associates of heavyweight boxing champion Anthony Joshua along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway soon commence. Speaking in Abeokuta, the state capital, shortly after the crossover service held at the Cathedral of St. Peter Ake, Governor Abiodun also confirmed that the driver of the vehicle has been arrested. While commending all Nigerians for their love and concern, the governor confirmed that Joshua has been discharged from the hospital. And that's the program for this New Year's Day. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Fikile.